Oh, I still haven't watched this, should I?
Hello, viewers.
Hello.
I'm in lovely, wonderful, sunny California, where I
heard
believe
I did
it
a
is
thing was
still
bad.
illegal to walk anywhere. So I'm going to go for a drive.
Such a corny car.
Cybertruck. Wowzers trousers.
That steering wheel looked small.
Now, we're supposed to think of this car as radical. I'm not talking about radical technology. In most respects, it's just like an electric car and specifically a Tesla. And that's a very common thing these days. Now, I'm talking about the way it looks. Is this the Countach of the modern era?
Nope.
Or maybe the Lagonda or the DeLorean, the Aston Martin Bulldog, the Maserati Boomerang concept car? I'm talking about
I love those old wedge designs.
things from my youth that made us go,
No
wow,
Chevsky now.
and were angular and covered in flat planes. Or is it maybe like the original Fiat Multipla, a car designed to be willfully ugly so that you would love it for the same reason everybody loved the Elephant Man? Otherwise, you'd have to see it as, well, an electric pickup truck, which is what it is. And it's big. Even by American standards.
Super
with their
size.
enthusiasm for trucks, it's pretty big. It's very wide. It's sort of cool, though, isn't it?
I actually have yet to see one in real life. Can you even buy them here in Sweden? I have no idea. No.
On the face of it, this is a very
Only
simple
US.
shape. You can imagine making a little model of this out of folded paper.
They're
If you look at
illegal
something
in
like
the
that
EU?
Dodge Ram over there, that's
Oh.
full of very complicated shapes, compound curves, and so on. It's a
That
very,
window wiper is almost the biggest crime. God, that is awful.
very involved bit of tooling. But once you've made the tooling, obviously you can bang them out in the hundreds of thousands. We know that the engineers found this very difficult to do. I mean, I think it's got quite a happy face, which I like. The flatness means that it has to be very, very precisely made, because the curves of a car like that or that Mercedes disguise any imperfections. But if you look here very closely, this piece here on the A-pillar, that doesn't align absolutely perfectly. It's only a millimetre or so out, but you can see that because it's a straight line and a flat surface. It's also got quite sharp edges. I mean, look at that. I wouldn't want to be hit by it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be hit by any car, but especially not that one, because, well, it's a
Oh
corner.
no, the poor poros.
You don't really get corners
Any
on the fronts
handouts?
of cars normally, but you do there.
I'll give one of the poor poros a gifted sub. Who should I give this time? Give the. Oh, I also okay.
It's also a
Sir,
festival
this
of
guy is a
fingerprints,
sir.
if you're neurotic about that sort of thing. And if you're a YouTuber, very difficult to film, because pretty much wherever you
YouTuber.
stand, you can see yourself. It's like a hall of mirrors. I mean, let's be honest, Tesla are making a bit of a point with the Cybertruck. If they really believed this was the future of car design, they'd make their other cars look like this. And they don't. They're all very inoffensive and conventional.
No more
But I do
saying cuss
wonder
words,
if this
guys.
styling would look fantastic on something smaller. Something about the size of, a Ford Focus, a Fiat Panda.
Stop cussing.
I mean, in some ways, the original Fiat Panda was a bit like this. It was a bit ruler and pencil. There is something
Jesus,
else to
it's
consider
sharp.
with things that are supposedly flat. Now, if we go back to Rolls-Royce, when they used to solder their own radiator grills together by hand, the blokes who did that knew that they had to actually make them very slightly bulbous. Because if you make things perfectly flat, especially when they're shiny, they appear to be slightly shrunken, slightly deflated. So I'm curious to know exactly how flat this is. And for that, it would be very convenient if somebody had, I don't know, a steel rule. There you go. Now the bonnet, very obviously, has a bit of a curve to it.
Mm-hmm.
Very obviously that does as well. But what about the flanks? This door. Oh yes, you see, it is very, very slightly convex. very, very slightly convex that way. Oh, that one's almost completely flat. Very slightly convex. Flat.
Jesus Christ, the car is big. You see it now when he's walking around it. The fucking tire ends at the middle of his body. I don't know how tall he is, but...
Flat. Very slightly convex. You see, I think they thought about this very carefully. They knew if they just made it as a folded cardboard design, it would look pinched and weird and the reflections would be all wrong. They knew to make it slightly, I think the word is, oblate. What I think we should do here, though, is abandon all the design language rubbish and just take a moment to stand and look at it and decide if I actually like it.
Well, do we? What say you, chat? Vote yay, vote nay. Is this a cool futuristic design? No, I can't get into it. I'm already over this new line of EV aesthetics that's just black and like this metal look. I was never really a fan of that to begin with. That one Hyundai car looks sort of neat, but still, it's so boring though. I feel like it's one of those designs. Right now it feels cool, but in a few years it'll look so dated. Like how everything has that weird yellowish look from like the end of the 90s. All the tech. That sounds cool, Hammer. Did you like the DeLorean? Sure. Not my favorite design, but the DeLorean is hard to...
Yes, I do.
Oh, there you go.
It's not on sale in the UK.
The DeLorean has Back to the Future backing it up.
It's not on sale in Europe. I don't even know if it's allowed in Europe, but it's definitely allowed here. There's an amendment about it that's been added to the American Constitution. You have the right to bear arms and to drive a Cybertruck. I suppose technically the most radical thing about the Cybertruck is that it is entirely steer-by-wire. There is no physical connection between this and what the front wheels are doing. It's essentially a computer interpreting what you want to do and then doing it for you. It's not actually the first steer-by-wire car, but it's the first to be entirely steer-by-wire with no mechanical backup.
So if the car is off, you can't turn the wheels?
And if you sit and think about that a bit, it's quite alarming. This is not connected, not in the sense that we normally mean, with the wheels doing the steering. On the other hand, those linkages that we're so used to can't wear out. And this car can do quite clever things like steer all four wheels, have a very tight turning circle for one so big, and require very small and gentle inputs, which is why it has, well, we'd have to call this a steering yoke rather than a steering wheel. This makes you feel very good because you can pretend you're flying an airliner. What a pleasant view. I think the clever thing that Tesla have done is to reassess what might be important to people in a car and even identify things that people didn't recognize as being important. I don't think people just buy them because they think, oh, it's green transport. It's also because the things that matter are given precedence. So they're easy to drive.
Such as?
They're connected. You can fuel them at home. Something I would just like to say about the Cybertruck is it's got the quietest electric windows I've ever encountered. Look at that. I think that's probably better than an S-Class. Road markings in America are written, the ones that are actually on the road surface, I mean, in the order in which you pass them so that they read correctly. So it says PED crossing, which is PED X ING, but I always read them top to bottom.
Ped Ching, delicacy.
To me, that says Zing Ped. One just there said ahead stop. Well, a couple of criticisms have emerged from other people. One is an old boy who came up to me in the car park just now, and he says he doesn't like this single light bar on the front because when a Cybertruck is coming towards you, it's difficult to judge how far away it is. With
I
two
have
lights,
brain damage. I have brain damage. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Correct. Thank you for the 20 months.
Obviously, they are closer together the further away the car is. He says this is confusing. The other complaint has come from Lucy on the camera.
That's the problem. A lot of these changes are just for the hell of it, because it's different, because it's futuristic and cool, not because it's better.
Who says that these largely flat, shiny surfaces produce fantastic glare. And my criticism is that these pillars are quite fat. That's not a unique Cybertruck problem, but they're quite fat and very badly positioned for the view at junctions and when you're going around, for example, a left-hand bend. That actually obscures your view of the road. But never mind that. Look at the size of the windscreen wiper. It's huge. Look, they put a wiper on and then they thought, no, we need another wiper on the wiper. And there it is. I'll be honest with you, I don't want...
If the headlights break, then you gotta switch that whole thing out as well, right? Instead of if there were two of them and one breaks, you only switch that one.
A Cybertruck, it's too big. I have a slight aversion to pickup trucks, if I'm honest. But I can't help but like it because it's a bit like a Tesla. It's a bit challenging of conventions. It makes you think about it. But the bit that I really like is that it's all straight lines, flat surfaces, vertices, but it makes everything else look square. I mean, it is a little bit childish and a bit incel Cybertruck, but for the most part, it's like a Tesla. It's got the big screen in the middle, rather like my Tesla Model 3 Highland has. And I'm in two minds about screens. They're great because they declutter the car, they feel modern, you can reconfigure them and all that sort of thing. And most of the stuff on there is set and forget. But it remains true that to say alter the temperature, you have to look and touch things if you're not going to use the voice control. And it just isn't the same as reaching for a knob that you can feel and turning it, like in, say, an old BMW 3 Series. My reasons for wanting to drive the Cybertruck are...
My car has... I got to press the screen to change the temperature. Press once to open it up and then press to set it. Which I really don't like. I much prefer to just reach for a knob and turn it without looking.
Twofold. Firstly,
reach for my
I
knob.
wanted to drive the Cybertruck. Secondly, I wanted to try and shoehorn into this presentation a rather fatuous promotion for my gin, James Gin, which brings us conveniently to the load bay, or what I think in pickup trucks is called the bed. Come and see. There are two little buttons here which do interesting things. This one is the tailgate. I didn't ask you to lock.
Can't even open it.
There are some interesting buttons here, the first of which opens the tailgate. You load it like a conventional boot or trunk if you're in America. But then there is this, the tonneau, which opens thusly. Rather nice. That covers it in normal use so that whatever you're carrying doesn't get stolen. Now, this bed will hold 2,500 pounds, which we've worked out is 840 bottles of James Gin. A pallet of James Gin, such as we export to the States currently, holds 600 bottles, so that's well over a whole pallet. We don't have that many bottles here to test this out, but if you have a Cybertruck and a serious gin problem, perhaps you could try that and let us know. In the meantime, I'd also like to try and experiment, because one of the things the Cybertruck reminds me of is pinball machines. Most pinball machines, certainly when I used to play pinball, were designed in such a way that you couldn't put a glass of beer or wine on them because the makers were always worried that the beer would be spilled into the mechanism. They're very complicated, they're electromechanical, and they become complicated and expensive to repair. So, this bottle of James Gin,
most important test here coming up,
out of shot, we can see where on the Cybertruck, yes, it'll stay there.
Let's go.
It'll stay, no, it won't stay on the tonneau. Yes to the roof. Obviously not. Oh, could you? No. Get a sliding shot here. Not on the windscreen. And no, not on the bonnet either. So, in short, if you have a Cybertruck and you're parked up and you wish to display your bottle of James Gin Asian parsnip on it whilst you enjoy one in the sun, it's the roof.
Bro, why is this segment so fucking long?
Where else do we decide? The tonneau. It just grips on the tonneau, but not on there.
Wait,
I hope that was useful. James Gin, available at
that was the opposite of the first time around.
jamesgin.com. Okay, look, here's what I think. I think the Cybertruck is actually very ballsy and quite humorous, but I am quite glad it exists. And if I could make a little appeal to Elon Musk, could you make something about the size of the Model Y, or maybe even a little bit smaller, still like a Tesla, still with all this Tesla stuff
Oh, even
on
the
it,
channel's named after his gen.
but
Buy it?
styled
I would try his gen.
like this? I'd go for that. Anyway, viewers, thanks as ever for watching.
Thank
and
you.
I should just remind you, don't like, don't comment, definitely don't subscribe, but do buy my gin.
There's a best of internet daily dotes. There's the new unusual memes. This thing looks insane. I'm... Ah!